Alright guys, you see the last day we were in the very start of Warner's theory of complexes, and due to some reason the video stopped, right? So anyways, we will start it again today. So Warner's theory of complexes. Before that, you see, in coordination compounds we basically deal with the metals and ligands, right? So the metals, they have two types of valencies, right? One is your primary valency, and the other one is your secondary valency. Right. So, but if we want to understand it better, because obviously we have heard this words for the first time. For the first time, these were the terms used by Warner, all right, in 1913. So you see, in the 19th century, these were used. But if we see in this today's terms, that what we basically call them in coordination chemistry. So primary valence is basically your oxidation number or your oxidation state, and secondary valence is the coordination number, right? That we have discussed in, I think, in the previous videos, alright. So what Warner said was basically, he said that the geometry of a complex is basically given by the secondary valencies, right? So if we want to understand it in today's terms, that means the geometry of a particular complex will be given by the coordination number of the complex, right? So yeah, what he took was, he took cobalt chloride with ammonia, right? And then he did a lot of experiments. Okay, before this I want to also discuss something else. That is, you see, we have already discussed it, that what is a complex? Complex is, suppose CuNH3 and there is this chlorine, 3 chlorine outside, right? So the ones that are present in the square bracket is basically your coordination sphere, and the ones present outside the coordination sphere is your ionization sphere, right? According to Warner, your primary valency is basically given by the the primary valency is basically ionizable according to Warner. So if we know that if we put it in aqueous solution, then we can clearly see that the complex will never lose its identity even in water, and it will remain as such, it won't break out. But this the ones present outside the coordination sphere will break into ions. So therefore these are basically your primary valency according to Warner. So therefore primary valencies are ionizable, as we can see here, because already we know the ones present outside the complex are when we dissolve it in water or when we add it in aqueous solution, they basically break into ions, right? Now I think I can rub this. The one thing that Warner said was, according to Warner, primary valencies are satisfied by anions, right? According to Warner, the primary valency, we just saw what it is. It is the ones present outside the coordination sphere, right? So primary valencies are satisfied by Warner. Oh, I'm sorry. Primary valencies are satisfied by anions, right? Satisfied by anions. Alright. I'm sorry. So now you see, now let me show you properly with examples. So first complex that I'm taking is your cobalt with 6 ammonia and chlorine is outside. So if we put it in aqueous solution, what we get? This will remain as such and we'll get 3 chlorine, right? Anion. Then in the next one, suppose if I replace 1 ammonia with chlorine, then outside there will remain 2 chlorine, right? So basically what we are going to get is your 2 chlorine will be ionizable. Third, similarly, if we are taking 4 ammonia and 2 chlorine, then outside there will be only 1 chlorine. So therefore, only 1 chlorine is ionizable. And the fourth, suppose 3 ammonia and there are 3 chlorine. So this time in the ionization sphere or outside the coordination sphere, there are no chlorine left. So here you will find no. Here nothing is ionizable basically, right? Because we don't have any anion present outside the coordination sphere. So now if we calculate the oxidation number of all of this, let me take another pen, this red one. So if we calculate the oxidation state, we'll find it to be, so you see this goes here basically, so 3 plus, right? So X is plus 3. So that means cobalt is plus 3. Here also if you calculate, you can write it directly, right? So plus 3. So cobalt is plus 3 in everywhere. And in the, just before I rubbed the first one, so there you can clearly see I have said that metals has 2 types of valencies, primary and secondary. So primary valency is basically your oxidation number. So here in all the complexes you can see cobalt is in plus 3 oxidation state. That means the primary valency is plus 3. And according to Warner, as primary valencies are satisfied by anions, so you can see here clearly that cobalt is in plus 3 oxidation state, right? So means the primary valence is 3, right? And this 3 plus 3 will be satisfied by 3 Cl minus. That means 3 into minus 1 is your minus 3, right? So overall there will be neutral, there will be no charge, right? I hope this is clear to you all. Okay, now we'll see the anions are also of 2 types, right? I'll rub this again. So anions are of 2 types. Alright, anions are of 2 types. First, one type of anion basically satisfies the secondary valency, and the other one satisfies both the primary as well as the secondary valency. Both. Alright. So there are 2 types of anions. So one is the satisfy the second value. Okay. So now if I take this example, cobalt, NH3, 6 and Cl3. So these are the anions. These are basically your secondary. These are the anions that are satisfying your secondary valency. But if I take the second example, for example NH3, 5Cl and Cl2. So these anions are basically satisfying both the primary as well as the secondary valency. But according to one of the anions that are satisfying the secondary valency are the ones that will give the geometry of the complex. So if I draw 2 complexes, one with the usual one, CO NH3 6, Cl3, right? And the other one if I draw CONH3 5 Cl. NH3 5Cl, right? So one chlorine will be attached with here. So now you see this chlorine, this does not tell anything about the geometry. With this, these are basically satisfying the secondary valency. These are basically satisfying the primary valency, and we cannot tell the geometry with the help of these anions. But had there not been this chlorine present here, the geometry would have been different. So therefore, this chlorine present over here is your is basically used to draw the geometry of the complex. If this would not have been there, then the geometry would have been something else, right? So this is satisfying your secondary valency, both secondary and primary valency, but here this is only satisfying the primary valency. I think before before drawing this part, in the previous one, I just said something else. Maybe I have said this to be the secondary valency. If I did, I don't know. The video is filming right now, so if I did, then I'm sorry for that. This basically satisfies your primary valency, and the ones present inside the coordination sphere satisfies your secondary valency, right? So here the chlorine present over here, the anions present over here are satisfying both the primary as well as the secondary valencies, right? So now it is like we know all of these things right now. After learning so many things, we know everything, right? Everything is in front of our eyes. We have this many books and all the researches have been done earlier. So it's very easy for us to think and depict the structure. Like if we see there is CO, NH3, 6, Cl3, we can say that the 6 will be like octahedral geometry or something. This right? Or if there is NH3, 5, Cl, we can clearly say there are 6 ligands. So 6, this anion will be present in the while we draw the complex, right? So these things are easy for us now, but during the 19th century, right, they did not have all these things ready-made. They had to think and research and experiment all of it and then conclude it, right? So Alfred Warner, he was a very genius person. You see, he was a very astute inorganic chemist, as I have said earlier, right, in the previous video. So what he did was, alright, so sorry about that, but you see, Warner at that time, he did not, like he or the other scientists also, they did not have this idea, like which one will be inside the coordination sphere, which will be outside the coordination sphere, which one will be ionizable and all of this. That was kind of difficult for them at that time, right? So, but Alfred Warner, what he did was, he created this amazing technique. It will be wrong if I say technique. He did this experiment, right? What he knew was, basically he knew that there was this cobalt with there was 3 chlorine and also there was 6 ammonia, right? He knew nothing else about this, like how the structure will be, right? Will the ammonia will be present with cobalt, will be attached with cobalt, or all of this. He did not knew about all of this. But what he did was, he added silver nitrate, right? He added silver nitrate to this mixture, to this, I will not say complex now, but to this he added silver nitrate, right? And we know silver, Ag. So here there is Ag is in plus 1 and NO3 minus, right? So Ag, silver, it has a vacant orbital, right? Vacant d orbital. So it can, the chlorine, right? Chlorine can easily put its electrons in this vacant d orbital, right? So what he thought was, he did this, he conducted this experiment. What he did, he took silver nitrate and then he basically added this to this, and then what he found was, like, if he will find, obviously if this chlorine will donate its electrons to Ag, what we will get is, right, we'll get AgCl basically, right? We'll get AgCl. So what he did, he took out the molecular weight of 1 AgCl, right? Like we know, silver, it has its molecular weight is your 108, and chlorine, it has 35.5, right? So if we calculate it, what we get is 143.5. So 143.5 is your molecular weight of 1 AgCl. So what he thought is, in that complex, I mean, if it is a, if the complex, it has, obviously the ones that are present in the ionization sphere will only can donate or can put its electrons to the vacant d orbital of Ag, because the other ones present in the coordination sphere will never lose its identity, will not break, right, into ions. So suppose the 4 complexes that I took earlier, okay, suppose the first one, CO, NH3, 6, and there was 3 chlorine outside, that is ionizable, right? So if he when he added silver nitrate, what the chlorine, they put their electrons in the vacant orbital, and what we get here will be a 3 chlorine will basically ionizable, right? So 3 AgCl. So when he calculated, 1 AgCl will have 143. So when he calculated the molecular weight of this, what he got was he got the molecular weight to be 430.5. So then he immediately thought of this idea, not thought, he knew, therefore he conducted this experiment, right? So he thought what he got was 430.5, the AgCl. Basically this is the silver chloride precipitate that he found after adding silver nitrate, right? Because the chlorine, the ionizable chlorine will donate electrons in the vacant d orbital of Ag, and will form this silver chloride precipitate, which is white in color. What he did, he dried it, right? After that he took the molecular weight and found out to be 430.5. So what he did, he knew, we know now that the molecular weight of 1 AgCl is 143.5. So if we divide 143.5 with 430, we'll get 3. So that way he thought that 3 chlorine are ionizable. So basically the compound, the structure of the compound will be it will be like this. It has to be like this because only then the 3 chlorine will be outside and it can form 3 silver chloride precipitate, right? Similarly, he took the second complex, that is CO and H3,5Cl, and Cl2 were ionizable. When added silver nitrate to it, he got 2 AgCl. So 1 AgCl weighs 143.5 grams, so 2 AgCl will be 287.0, right? So when he divided 287.0 by, the weight of 1 AgCl precipitate, 1 AgCl, that is your 143.5, that is 2. So that way he, thought, or he found out that 2 chlorine will be present outside. That is, in the primary valency there will be 2 chlorine and 1 chlorine will be present in the secondary valency. Basically that will, give the structure of the coordination compound, right? So you see, he thought of all this and now we are getting everything ready-made, right? But at that time it was difficult, but still obviously that's why he was awarded the Nobel Prize. So this was the first evidence, right, of Alfred Warner. Basically this way he formulated his ideas on the structure of the coordination compounds. Now there was another evidence. The second evidence that he found was molar conductance. Alright. So second one is a molar conductance. We will learn about this in detail when we discuss physical chemistry, to be specific electrochemistry. But for now, you see molar conductance, it depends on the number of ions present in the solution. It depends on the number of ions that are present in the solution. Right, suppose more is the number of ions in the solution, the molar conductivity increases. So, if we can see all the 4 complexes, if I write it here again, NH3, 6, 3, right? The other one is CO, NH3, 5, Cl, Cl2. Third one, CO, NH3, 4, Cl2, Cl, and the fourth one is your CO, cobalt, NH3, 3, Cl3, and here there will be no chlorine, right? So if you can see in the ionizable anions, if you see, there are 3. So here the number of ions, more number of ions will find in the solution. Here it will be the most here will be the most number of ions that you find in the solution is this in here in number 1 in the first complex. So therefore molar conductivity is greater. We can put this sign over here. So these were the 2 evidences drawn out by Alfred Warner, and these were basically with all his ideas, he formulated all his ideas in these evidences in order to depict the structure of the coordination compounds. Now the first compound of Alfred Warner, not of Alfred Warner, obviously we can say that the first compound, let me wrap it and write it here again. Since the board is so short, I have to wrap it multiple And since Alfred Warner was the first inorganic chemist to have received the Nobel Prize for his work in 1913, so therefore his compound is also very important, right? So in 1914 he reported his first, synthetic chiral compound, which did not have carbon in it. So let's just see the structure of the compound. Let me write it down first. Alright, so I'll draw it first and then I'll explain. Although there's nothing to explain, basically we'll see the number of bonds, right? So, but three, 4, 6. So this is basically the structure, right? So if you see the number of cobalt nitrogen bonds, so let us count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 cobalt nitrogen bonds present in the compound, and if you see the cobalt oxygen bonds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So there are 12 cobalt oxygen bonds. I'm sorry. So I hope this much is clear to you all. So this was basically your Warner's theory of complexes.